Welcome to the Arts to Hearts podcast, a show where we take a peek into the hearts and lives of our favorite artists. From running a creative business and practice to mindset, we talk about everything that goes behind into making a life and a career that you adore as an artist. Think of this as your happy hour with your favorite artist in your studio. Hear them share the messy and the wonderful side of creating and living a creative, heartfelt life within and outside our studios. As you tune in, be ready to be inspired and encouraged. I'm your host, Charuka Arora, an artist, designer, entrepreneur, and founder of Arts to Hearts project. Thank you so much for being here. Let's jump right in. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Arts to Hearts podcast. This is your host, Charuka Arora. I hope you are having a great day, and I am beginning my day with a wonderful guest on the podcast today. I have an interdisciplinary artist and illustrator living in Sacramento, Katie. Katie, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, it's so great to be here.
Thank you so much for coming, and I'm so glad that you made it here. I am so excited to have you here, and I can't wait to dive into this conversation. Katie, like we spoke about, I was just giving you a brief about the podcast and what we do. But before we go into all of that, like I asked all my guests, would you like to introduce yourself and what you do so that people who are listening can know you better?
Sure. My name is Katie Kaapcke, and my last name is a little challenging for people.
Oh my god! That was the reason why I did not use it, because I just did not want to mess it up.
It's
I
okay.
forgot to ask you.
Yeah, it's super hard for everybody, so I'm used to it. Yeah, it's just Kaapcke, but it looks very scary because there's two A's in there. So yeah, I've been phonetically spelling out my last name since I was a kid. So yeah. But I am a fine artist, an illustrator, and a surface pattern designer, and I'm working in Sacramento, California. And my work centers around queerness, mental illness, hope, visibility, acceptance, and taking up space.
Yeah, I love that, and I think I really wanted to bring you on the podcast because these are a lot of topics that I personally also touch in my own work, but they are something that we really need to keep constantly talking about and bring more visibility. And we've had Haley come on the podcast, and we've had an episode with her, and I thought it would be a great addition to have you now. Okay, we'll get to your work, but before we get to your work, let's also get to know who you are. I love the description that you live in Sacramento with two dogs. Honestly, I want to talk about. I could talk about the dogs in for the entire episode,
They're
but let's
here.
talk.
Hopefully they'll be quiet.
Well, I am recording this episode. I just told you that I had some connecting issue, and I'm recording this episode somewhere else, and I have literally locked my dogs outside because they would, and I have three dogs. They hang on the door and then they keep scratching until they don't come inside, and then they want to go outside. So yeah, that's another chapter.
Yeah,
Okay.
mine would just whine outside the door if I didn't let them in here. So
Okay, let's talk a little bit about where you were born and how were you as a child. How was it for you growing up?
I was born in Livermore, California, which is in the East Bay. My whole family's from the Bay Area. And I moved to Sacramento from San Francisco about 10 years ago.
Oh wow.
But yeah, my family was always really creative. My mom did lots of creative stuff like flower arrangements and needlepoint and decorating and cooking and all the like domestic things that people don't think are creative, but they really are very creative. And my dad did writing, and my brother is also an artist. He was
Oh
much
wow.
better than me. He was much better than me when we were younger, so I kind of got discouraged and kind of
Oh.
like went into other things because I wasn't as good as him. So, but I also, I'm sorry, I also started ballet really young, so I spent a lot of time doing dance for most of my life.
Oh wow. So, you mean you painting when you were young? Were you always like?
I was drawing and coloring a lot and I loved it, but I unfortunately was discouraged by my brother kind of got a lot of attention for his
Yeah,
artistic
of
talent
course.
and I kind of let that discourage me as an artist.
Yeah, yeah,
So I focused on like other things like dance
yeah,
that I was good at and but I was always creative. I was extremely shy child. And I would spend a lot of time like just in my imagination playing alone in my room. It was really hard for me to like
yeah.
talk to other people at school. I just kind of like had to wait for people to talk to me. Uh, I
Yeah,
wouldn't talk to people.
I wouldn't. I would really second that myself. I don't know if that seems like that, but yeah, I can understand the struggle. Okay, so you were a shy child.
Mhm.
Your work, and of course you as a your work centers around sexuality, gender sexuality, fluidity, and queerness. Um, we definitely will get into it, but um, let's also talk a little bit about your own journey of reaching where you are today as an individual and as an artist for sure. Um, when did you realize that okay, you wanted to take a path of a path like this of being an artist? Did you like study in an art school, or like did you get into, or it was something that just happened?
Um, it was a journey. Um, I planned on doing dance in college, and I did. But in high school, the end of high school, I started kind of dabbling in graphic design or what was graphic design in the 90s. It was really rudimentary, but it was exciting for me. I really enjoyed it and I seemed to be good at it. So I looked at going into graphic design, but it seemed like at the time you had to be like a super technical drawer and I wasn't. And so I was like, oh, I can't do that. And um, my first and only boyfriend, who ended up becoming my husband, is a super talented, amazing comic book artist. So
Wow.
I kind of grew up being around all the comic book professionals and other artists, and like he and my really good friend Carlos, who was our roommate, really were very supportive and encouraging as I started to discover I liked design and I liked making things, and they were always like encouraging me and pushing me to keep at it. And one of the biggest things I learned from them is one, they're extremely hardworking. So they're super talented, but they're
Yeah,
extremely hardworking, you know.
yeah,
And they always said just keep making things no
yeah,
matter what. Just keep making stuff. You're going to make stuff you hate. You're going to make stuff that you really don't want to show anybody, but you just need to keep making stuff and to not give up. And so I had that kind of implanted in me, and I started drawing and painting in my 30s, my early 30s. Um, I actually did some drawing. That's not true. I did some drawing in high school, and um, with my ex husband, we had our own comic book, and we self published that. So I drew a comic in that, and then I wrote other comics in it, and then I started my own comic in my 30s. Um,
wow.
and it was called Poor Little Dyke Girl, and it was all about being queer and dating in San Francisco, which was humiliating and
my god.
And despite the adventure at the time, it was like, you can't make this stuff up, you know?
Yeah, and I think
Um,
it was also the time, because at that point, as much as things are open, like there's conversation about things today. Um, I'm sure it must have not been the same before.
no, I mean, now I came out late. I came out in my late 20s. So, like nowadays, there's a lot of exposure and there's things all over the internet and examples of queer people. And we just didn't have that. I didn't really have a connection to a queer community till I moved to San Francisco and I finally like saw it and I realized I was gay. Um,
Yeah,
so I just didn't really have any exposure to what that culture
that meant.
was until then.
In fact, that lines to me to something why. So when I was just, I was researching about you and everything, and I think after everything I did, there was one thing that really, really resonated with me, and I know for a fact that it's going to resonate a lot with our listeners, and I really want to go into that now. In your website somewhere, you mentioned about getting lost and like your work about getting lost, and you as an individual also getting lost and finding yourself back again. And I think that is something that I've always also personally been very vocal about. I really want to get into this, because I can't even imagine honestly how, um, I am someone who really emphasizes on the fact of identity, and identity, let's say in any form, and to find to to get to be lost in a pool, like understanding if you're a gay, if you're not, and sexuality, which in itself is such a complicated, like how a society makes it too complicated. Let's talk about a little bit whatever you feel comfortable sharing, your journey of getting lost and getting yourself back together again.
Well, there were kind of two journeys. There was the journey to coming out, which was the easier journey, because
Yeah, of course.
once I figured it out, everything became clear. Everything in my life made sense. It was like a movie reel of my life, and like, oh, that was really gay. Oh, that was really gay. That was really gay. Like it all made sense suddenly. Like all of it.
You're connecting the
I just thought
dots.
that was really weird. But no, I was gay. So everything kind of made sense. And then I've struggled with mental health since my early 20s, probably in high school. And um, it was a really, really, really hard, painful journey. And I've been stabilized for about 6 years now, but it
Yeah.
took a really long time to get
Okay.
there. And it was, it was really hard.
Yeah.
So once I stabilized, I could kind of like start my life over again
Yeah.
and start fresh and like function because I wasn't functioning.
Yeah.
So that's allowed me to have a lot of growth in kind of a shorter amount of time because having that stability was very new and different for me.
Yeah. So, how has this journey of finding yourself, refinding yourself, actually? Because sometimes, a lot of times, we actually are given in hand of who we are. You know, like you're told you belong to this family, you come with this name, you come with a gender, and all of those religion, and all of those things. But it takes a lifetime for us as individuals to find who we really are than something that's just been given to us. And I think when it especially comes to being gay, and refinding, actually really finding your own identity, I'm sure that must have been a very challenging journey. How has that impacted you and your work? I mean, especially your journey in the arts.
Well, art really became a really important outlet for me. I did writing before that, but it kind of all transferred to art, and it really helped me throughout my mental health journey because sometimes there was just like nothing that would make me feel better, but I could paint. for a little while, and it would help at least. And I needed that. I really, really needed that. It was like the one thing I could do that would make me feel better, and that I would always want to do. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have to like force myself to do it. I would always want to do it, no matter how depressed or like I didn't feel like I could get out of bed or any of that stuff. I still wanted to paint and draw.
And do you think your work or coming out, because you said that you came out a little late than what, and I don't think there's anything late or early, but we just have all of us have our own timing. But were you making art at that point?
I was writing, but I started making art right after I came out. So it
Okay, so
kind of
that became an
coincided.
outlet for you.
Yeah. Hmm.
Even
Yeah.
in, you mentioned that your work is like, your works are fluid paintings that explore queerness and mental illness, and that you create like a magical and thought-provoking sexually fluid wonderland with your paintings. Would you talk about your process and the kind of work that you make?
Sure. My fine artwork is all abstract, and I really fell in love with abstract. I think like 3 years ago now. I just wanted to try it because I loved abstract art,
Yeah.
and as soon as I tried it, I was completely obsessed. Um, I just love the freedom of abstracts. I love how expressive I can be with them. I feel like it's the most expressive I can possibly be is with
Yeah.
abstracts. And it allows me to explore a lot of my feelings and emotions as I'm working through them.
Yeah.
Uh, and it just feels amazing.
So you have also been making art, and I think I also saw that you're getting into art coaching, and would you talk about that journey of yours, and where is that heading?
Well, I started doing surface pattern design this year, and I'm really excited about that. I really love it. Um, and it just started with like a company reaching out to make a pattern, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to do this. But I had such a great time, so I ended up like taking a class, and I'm still learning, and I'm making patterns for more people. And then art coaching, it's more for me. It's more of like a consulting, like a second ear kind of thing. I'm not making like a mastermind or like a
Yeah.
big coaching program. That's just not really me.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have insight to help with whatever issue you're coming up against, or something
Yeah.
you want to explore, or something you want to work on in your business, that kind of thing. So I offer um, like consulting calls and things like that, so that we can like dive deeper into what's going on with you, because I definitely could have used that kind of help when I was first starting out.
Yeah. Absolutely, for sure. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Katie, for answering so many questions and for being so honest. Let's get to my favorite part of the podcast, which is the rapid fire. I'll ask you a set of questions. You know the drill. You have to be quick. You have to give me just one word. And are you ready?
Yes.
One thing you want to convey through your work in the arts.
Acceptance.
What's that one word that describes you the best?
Nerd.
If you could have a studio anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Either Italy or France. I
Oh
love
my
both.
God. Both. They would, I mean, how beautiful that would be. Your biggest source of inspiration.
Probably nature and color.
Who is your favorite women artist?
I love Georgia O'Keeffe and Frida Kahlo.
Oh,
Those are
yeah.
two favorites.
I love Georgia and Frida both. I mean, actually, I just started an autobiography on Georgia, and I think I really like her. I think she's too bold for her time, and I love that. I mean, I
Hmm.
love her confidence. I love all of that about her. Okay, who's your go-to person when it comes to when you're in trouble or you need advice?
I have three people. My best friend Dana, who's also a talented artist and is always there to give me feedback on my work, which I need because it can be a little isolating. Sometimes you're
Yeah,
like creating in a vacuum and you're like, is this even good? I don't know.
yeah,
I need help. And then my friends Nikki and Madison for like other things, personal things.
awesome. If you were to meet younger Katie today, what advice would you give her?
Oh, probably just that it was going to be okay and it was going to get better.
Shout out an artist who is currently on your heart list or you're loving.
I love Devin Waltz lately a lot. I have a friend locally, Jeff Mayer, who's an amazing abstract artist.
Okay.
Uh, he's one of my favorites too.
I'll have to figure. I mean, I'll have to ask you for those links and I'm going to get them added to the show notes for sure. Okay, my last question. What is that one advice that you would give to women and artists who are coming and queer people actually, who are coming behind you?
To not give up.
Yeah.
That's probably the best to keep making and not give up
Yeah.
because you're going to want to like a whole lot. It's hard and you feel like you're kind of sharing to the void for a really long time and is anyone even seeing this? Do they care? What am I doing? And you just have to keep going.
Thank you so much, Katie. I really appreciate your time and your patience. Before I let you go, I just want to ask you if you have something that you're working on that you can share with us, any new project that's coming, that's going on by the time, of course, this podcast is. But anything that you would want our viewers to look at and support you with, and where can they find you, follow you, and support you?
I have some stuff that'll be coming out, but not I can't announce it yet. But I will be starting a new big collection in the next month. So look for that in a couple months. Um, I've been super busy, but I'm really excited to start a new collection.
Love
And
that.
then you can find me on Instagram at
Yeah.
Katie Kaapcke, and my last name is Kaappi as in Peter, C as in cat, Ke.
Yeah, you
I'll
made that
help
easier.
you. And
You made that easier.
www.katiekaapke.com.
Perfect. I'm going to link all the links that Katie has mentioned in the show notes, so you can just go to www.artstoheartsproject.com and go to the podcast and where you can find Katie, this episode, and all the links that we've spoken about. So don't forget to check them out. I want to say a big thank you again, Katie. Thank you so much for your time and
Thank you.
patience. It was a little technical with the soul. I should have with the soul thought and the connection issues, but I'm so grateful we made this possible.
Me too. Thank you. It was really lovely to speak to you.
Thank you. Bye bye. I hope you have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You can find all the details and links mentioned in the show notes of this episode available on www.artstoheartsproject.com. And if you like this episode, please don't forget to tag us in your stories and leave us a review here on iTunes or any of your favorite platforms. It really helps us to keep the show going. Thank you so much. I'm sending you lots of love and I can't wait to be back here soon again. Bye.